here's why I hate Shangri-La and I hate Sheridan. I fucking hate those brands. I hate them so much. So I had this boss, and I was like, how old was I? I was 19 years old, and I had just finished school. I was running my tech business, and I wanted to go full-time into tech, running my own thing, right? And I sit down with my dad. I'm like, hey, I just finished year 12. I want to go and start my own business. And he's like, great, go do it. He never went to university. He never even finished high school, so he didn't give a fuck. He was like, go for it. Go enjoy it. Anyway, a client of my computer business, who I was doing consulting for, offers me a job. And they're like, hey, come and work for us. You're a young, energetic dude. You're really smart. You're good with tech stuff. And we need someone young and energetic for a very diverse role in our small business. And they had quite a successful small business. They only had they had three full-timers, husband and wife team, one person, what we used to call in the hot seat, running the business, and a bookkeeper who came in like half a day a week. Right. Sorry, half a week, a couple of days a week. And they did more than $1 million worth of revenue.
Damn.
Yeah, just from a couple of people,
It's
right?
a powerhouse.
Powerhouse, yeah. And so they offered me this job, and I chatted to my dad about it. I'm like, hey, what do you think? And he basically said, well, this is a good opportunity for you to learn what a small business looks like, how it works. It's going to be a diverse role. You're going to be working directly with the business owners. You should go check it out. You should go check it out. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'll commit to working for them for a year. I'll give them 1 year commitment, and then I'll go and start my business, because that's what I really wanted to do. And I worked for them for a year, 9 to 5, and then each evening and each weekend I would run my own business, right? So I was basically pulling 80, 100-hour weeks, because I'd do the 9 to 5, and then I'd work every evening of the week, and then I'd work all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Which, you know, when people say to me like, oh, you know, you shouldn't be asking for like free interns, and I was talking about like, you know, people spending lots of time, you know, watching TV, like I've worked fucking 100-hour weeks, mate. Like, don't come to me and say you don't have opportunity. Everyone has opportunity. Anyway, that's side note. So the owner of that business, in my judgment and my opinion, had some instances where I was not comfortable with their level of integrity.
Interesting.
I was not comfortable with how they were. They may have been completely fine, and I'm not suggesting they did anything illegal or anything untoward, but there were some instances where I was not comfortable with how they operated their business. And I held judgment about that. I still do hold a little bit of judgment about that. Over the years, it's funny, where I thought that they were very curt in their business dealings and ruthless in their business dealings. Over the years, as I've become hardened as a business owner myself, I've understood, I can see why they did that. I can see why they operate like that. But the big issue that I think I had was it's more of a personal judgment on a basis of personality, was they cared a lot about their status and were very attached outwardly to how brands were a representative of their identity. And look, the industry that they were in had a lot to, part of the business was in the fashion industry. So it had a lot to do with brands and identity and how all of that world works. But the owner of the business happened to love Shangri-La, and they happened to love Sheridan. And so I represent those brands with like middle-aged, upper middle class, because they weren't crazy wealthy, they were upper middle class, you know, people who wanted to represent themselves outwardly, who didn't necessarily have a great character. I only go to the Shangri-La, I only fucking buy Sheridan towels. And I remember them saying it to me, like, and I was like, ugh. And so that's why I fucking hate those brands. Like, I don't even, and I clearly hold a lot of judgment, because I don't even want to use a Sheridan towel. Like, I went around to my friend's place, and she's like, oh, look at these nice soft Sheridan towels. And I was like, so there's this level of, like, judgment that I hold for those two brands. I'm sure I can do some subconscious NLP shit and clear it out, but for now they remain.
Yeah.
So that's why I hate Sheraton and Shangri-La. And each time I've been to the Shangri-La, and I've been to like an older Shangri-La, like one that's not fresh, like an older Shangri-La, and I've paid $500 and stayed in a shithole, like the old one in Manila is a shithole. I've stayed there, and then no brand partnerships with Shangri-La ever. But yeah, when I've stayed in an old place and I've paid a lot of money to stay in a shithole, I've gone, damn, this just clearly represents what my perception was someone who had a lot of money but was a shit person.
Oh, God.
So that's my Shangri-La story. And I hated it in Cebu when I stayed at the Shangri-La in Cebu. I think this also translated to a bigger picture of money doesn't buy class. Money doesn't buy class. And I remember staying at another nice resort in Davao called Pearl Farm. And the resort was lovely. The resort was fantastic. But the people that were there were really challenging to be around. And I left. I didn't even stay the first night. I got a refund and I left because I couldn't handle being around the people. I sat down for lunch on the first day, and the person at the table next to me was on their phone, on loudspeaker, yelling at the phone, having a conversation with someone who wasn't at the resort. And I thought, what the fuck are you doing? You're supposed to be at a resort, enjoying time with your family. They were sitting there with
How
their
about
family.
the serenity?
How's the serenity? Exactly. And they're yelling at their fucking phone to someone who isn't there. Now, if they want to do that in their own time, that's fine. But they're disturbing the peace of 5 other tables around them, which I thought was classless behaviour. And I, at that point, thought to myself, why am I paying $500 a night for a premium resort to sit next to some fuckwit doing this? I can pay $100 a night and go to the resort down the road, which is remote and quiet, and have a better experience. And there's a nice one with a butler down there, which is what I did, and I had a much better time.
Yeah.
So I think that's the lesson in that one. Money does not buy class, and Sheraton towels, I'm sure, are amazing. And I'm sure the newer Shangri-Las are amazing as well. Shangri-La, if you're listening, you can put me up. That's fine. But just get me a table without some dickhead on their
libel.
phone. Yeah, exactly. I'm sure your hotels are lovely, and I would love to visit. So reach out to my team.